Bueno es alabarte, oh Jehová, y cantar salmos a tu nombre, oh Altísimo. Anunciar por la mañana tu misericordia y tu fidelidad cada noche, en el decacordio y en el salterio, en tono suave con el arpa. Por cuanto me has alegrado, oh Jehová, con tus obras. En las obras de tus manos me gozo. Cuán grandes son tus obras, oh Jehová. Muy profundos son tus pensamientos. El hombre necio no sabe, y el insensato no entiende esto. Cuando brotan los impíos como la hierba, y florecen todos los que hacen iniquidad, es para ser destruidos eternamente. Mas tú, Jehová, para siempre eres altísimo. Porque he aquí tus enemigos, oh Jehová, porque he aquí, perecerán tus enemigos. Serán esparcidos todos los que hacen maldad. Pero tú aumentarás mis fuerzas como las del búfalo. Seré ungido con aceite fresco. Y mirarán mis ojos sobre mis enemigos. Oirán mis oídos de los que se levantaron contra mí, de los malignos. El justo florecerá como la palmera. Crecerá como cedro en el Líbano. Plantados en la casa de Jehová. En los atrios de nuestro Dios florecerán. Aún en la vejez fructificarán. Estarán vigorosos y verdes, para anunciar que Jehová mi fortaleza es recto, y que en él no hay injusticia. Psalm 92 is a song of praise and worship, traditionally associated with the Sabbath day. This psalm accentuates the themes of worship, thanksgiving, divine justice, and God's unwavering faithfulness. Let's take a closer examination of its themes and structure. The psalm begins with an exuberant declaration of the goodness of praising the Lord. The psalmist highlights the importance of giving thanks and singing praises to God. This act of worship is not bound by time. Rather, it is a continual process that starts in the morning by proclaiming God's mercy and carries through the night by acknowledging His faithfulness. This highlights the perpetual cycle of divine love and reliability that believers experience daily. Musical instruments, such as the 10-stringed lyre, the harp, and the lyre, are mentioned, indicating the musical nature of this psalm. Music has always been a profound way of worship, and it plays a significant role in expressing praise and adoration to God. The gentle and harmonious sounds of these instruments are symbolic of the reverence and joy in worshiping God with all facets of human creativity and expression. The focus then shifts to the joy derived from God's works. The psalmist finds immense joy and delight in observing the works of God's hands. There is a deep appreciation for the greatness and majesty of God's creations, which are evident to all who seek to understand them. God's thoughts and wisdom are described as profound, indicating that they are beyond human comprehension, yet infinitely worthy of exploration and admiration. In contrast to the wise appreciation of God's works, the psalmist acknowledges that the foolish and the wicked are incapable of understanding these divine truths. Their inability to perceive God's greatness is compared to grass, which might flourish temporarily, but ultimately perishes. This metaphor suggests the fleeting nature of evil. Though it may appear to prosper for a time, it is ultimately destined for destruction. This solidifies the assurance of divine justice, a central theme in this psalm, where God triumphs over evil. Moving forward, the psalmist proclaims God's eternal supremacy. Though enemies may rise, they will not endure. The ultimate victory belongs to God, and His enemies will be scattered and defeated. There is tremendous assurance found in God's enduring power and omnipotence, which brings comfort and peace to the believer. The psalm takes a personal turn as the writer expresses confidence in God's ability to provide strength and anointing. The imagery of a wild ox, an emblem of strength, conveys the assurance that God will empower and sustain the psalmist. The anointing with fresh oil symbolizes renewal and favor, indicating a continual refreshment from God's presence. The theme of divine retribution is revisited As the psalmist anticipates witnessing the downfall of his enemies, there is a sense of vindication, where those who act treacherously and oppose the righteous will ultimately face divine justice. God ensures that those who trust in Him remain protected and vindicated. The imagery shifts to that of a flourishing tree, symbolizing the prosperity of the righteous. The righteous are likened to palm trees and cedars of Lebanon, known for their strength, durability, and longevity. This imagery beautifully captures the stability, growth, and fruitfulness that characterize the life of a believer. For those planted in the house of the Lord, there is an assurance of flourishing and growth even into old age. It suggests that spiritual vitality and productivity are not limited by time, as God's presence sustains and invigorates His people perpetually. In the concluding verses, the psalmist affirms that the righteous will declare God's righteousness and faithfulness, underscoring that God is a firm foundation without injustice. This declaration is both a personal testimony and a collective proclamation of God's unchanging character. It invites believers to share their experiences of God's righteousness with others, affirming His faithfulness and just nature. In summary, Psalm 92 beautifully weaves together themes of worship, the eternal nature of God's justice, the futility of wickedness, and the flourishing of the righteous. It calls believers to engage in praise as a response to God's works, sustaining power, and unchanging righteousness. Through the imagery of nature and musical expression, the psalm offers profound insights into the joy and assurance found in God's presence. It encourages a life of continuous worship and trust in God's justice and faithfulness, leading to a life marked by spiritual growth, vitality, and unwavering hope.